What is good, guys? I know it has been a massive minute since I've been on the YouTube. Everyone's in my DMs telling me, come on YouTube, drop game, why are you inactive? But I've got a massive life change coming up, which I can't wait to show you guys. I'm going to vlog the whole experience, going to vlog everything and just become more active on YouTube as a whole. But today, given the fact I get so many DMs a day, so many DMs a week, asking me loads of different questions about brand scaling, asking me how to get started, asking how to sign the first client, all of that stuff, all the beginner based stuff, I thought, you know what, why not make a YouTube video asking the top, I think it's just under 20. I was going to say top 20 questions, top 19 questions that people ask me in my DM. So if you guys do have any questions, obviously after this video, feel free to drop me a DM on Instagram. My Instagram is right here. I'm always replying to DMs, and I do have a free Telegram where I drop game daily, and it is in the link of this video. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. So this is going to be a raw video. There's going to be no crazy editing. There's going to be nothing like that in here. This is just pure game. So if you don't have your pen and paper out right now, you may as well just turn off the video. So question one. And I like this question a lot. Question one is, how do I know I'm ready to provide the service? And I get this question asked a lot. How do you know I'm ready to provide the service? How do you know I'm not gonna, I don't know, sign them as a client and then not be able to do the work for them? And this is a very, very good question. And I feel like a lot of people worry about delivery when that should not be the case. At the end of the day, you're never going to be 100% ready to go all in and to run ads for any client. The way FB ads works, and I say this to a lot of people who are either on the mentorship, who either DM me, or anyone that I know, I do say a lot that the way that you learn most with YouTube is not from watching like YouTube videos all day long, writing down notes on a paper. It's genuinely just by running the ads, learning what the ads do, looking at the data. And the main thing that I say is the most important thing is understanding how to respond to the data. So let's say, for example, if your client's CPC is high, on paper you've watched loads of YouTube videos and it tells you what to do, but in that moment, are you going to know what to do? Are you going to know when to up the budget? Are you going to over time understand this creative works well? Video creatives work better for me, still creatives work better for me. You're going to be able to kind of work out these things and understand how to run FB ads whilst doing it. So my main thing I would say to people is, throw yourself in the deep end. Understand the principles of Facebook. Understand all of the creatives that you can run. Understand all of the types of, I don't know, campaigns that you can run. So obviously cold conversions, interest stat, retargeting. Understand those. Understand how to set them up. But with regards to scaling and the further stuff that comes with that, that is something that you're going to have to throw yourself in the deep end and learn. And truth be told, you're not going to be able to give results to every client. You're not going to be able to, have 100% success rate at the start, and that's totally normal. And even when I started brand scaling, and so many other people that I know who are now in this space, who are pulling, I don't know, 100k months, 200k months, etc. At the start, you're never going to be 100%, on what you're doing, and that's okay. Question two: what are the benefits of this business model, in my opinion? So there's something I really want to say, but I know I can't share it with YouTube just yet. But one thing I will say with brand scaling, having a social media like agency, if that makes sense, whether that's for organic or whether that's for scaling with paid ads or whatever that is that you can work remotely from anywhere. So let's say, for example, if for me where I'm at right now, if I genuinely wanted to go to the other side of the world tomorrow, if I want to go to China tomorrow, if I wanted to go, you name a place, I could go there and I could still work. I could still provide results for my clients. I could still run my business as usual and nothing would be impacted. Another thing as well is, when you're working for yourself or when you're scaling other businesses, even if it's in a freelancing way rather than having a whole agency set up, you can literally wake up if you wanted to. I mean, not that you would, but if you wanted to, you could wake up at 4 p.m. every day and lay in bed all day, work from your bed every day, and you can still run your business the same. And you can still make the same amount of money. You don't have to go into work. You don't have to report to someone. You can start when you want. You can end when you want. You can break the day up by going for a run on the beach if you want. Like, you're completely open to what you want to do. There's no one having to tell you what to do. You can do whatever you want to do. And it is honestly complete freedom. Obviously, in the starter stages, if you're building an agency, if you're wanting to get to, I'd probably say the first 10,000, 15,000 a month, it's going to be hard. And it's going to take, I don't know, 14, 12-hour days often. But once you reach that point, you bring in systems, you're understanding more how things work, and then you're more free. Freedom comes in over time. Question number 3, and I get this a lot, is I'm 17. I want to start right now, but I don't know the steps to take. What shall I do? So this is one of the main things that I get in my DM, is someone who wants to start running their agency or scaling brands in a freelance way, but they don't know what to do. Step 1, I would honestly say, is build out your agency. Obviously, this is after you've honed in on, okay, right, look, I want to do just paid ads. I want to do organic. After that stage where you know what service you want to deliver and why you want to deliver it. Is it because you got previous experience in something that's similar? Is it because you feel it would be right for you because X, Y, and Z? Once you've kind of thought about that aspect, and it's a process of now of actually taking the steps to start making the money, it would just be a case of, 1, building out your agency Instagram to showcase what it is you do, showcase your case studies, showcase lifestyle, showcase kind of putting a face to the name so they have more trust there. Because the way the agency Instagram account works for me, right, is I'll have my agency Instagram account. I don't use it. I barely upload results, case studies, etc., all of that. But I have the baseline of the post of what do I offer, why you want to work with me, and lifestyle to know that I'm a legit person. And I'll have my main Instagram handle in the bio. So I'll obviously outreach from my personal if I ever did outreach again, or if I do. But the agency is more so a placeholder for information. So you're not going to want to be outreaching from that page. It's just to showcase what you do, who you are, and why they should trust you. So I would say number 1 would be getting that set up, understanding everything you need to start the agency, or to even do it in a freelance way, as I said. So understanding what you need to do contracts with, understanding do you need a business email, understanding do you need to get yourself set up on Facebook, or etc., etc., understanding what that is to then be able to get set up. The next thing would just be outreaching. So understanding, okay, look, I'm going to use Instagram, for example. I always say to people, mentees, or anyone who wants to get started, I honestly say Instagram is the best for outreach if you're doing it solely for clothing brands. The reason being is because clothing brands are on Instagram 24/7. You can find the brand owner's personal Instagram. Everything is there at the tip of your hands. You just need to outreach, and you just need to do it. For other businesses, you can do calling, you can do different things like that, but I'm going to get into that on a later video. Circling back to the question of what should you do? So you've made your agency account, you've understand the outreach process, you then want to send 50 to 100 DMs per day, every single day without fail. If you're sending shit messages of outreach, you're not going to get responses. If you're sending good outreach messages that say a clear offer, giving them incentive to reply to you, people are going to reply to you more. You're then going to close that person in the DM and make them come on an onboarding call with you. And then on the onboarding call, you're going to pitch them, and that's where you're going to close them. And then you're going to take that client and you're going to scale the hell out of this client, like your life depends on it, in return for a case study. And then over time, you're going to accumulate more and more case studies to then build out a whole portfolio so that people trust you, and they're going to, 1, pay you upfront, 2, they're going to pay you more, and 3, they're going to come to you on inbound instead of you coming to them. So that's what I would say if you're young, if you're trying to start freelance brand scaling, if you're young, if you're any age, not even just if you're young, I didn't mean to say that to be honest, but if you're wanting to get started and you don't know how, that is a brief kind of step by step of what I would suggest you to do for sure. Number 4, so this is a bit more, this is less like if you're just starting, this is more so if you're a bit advanced, but I felt like putting this in there because I thought it would be interesting. So number 4 is, if my client has tried FB ads and they're already on a 4x ROAS, how can I help them? So for anyone watching this, a ROAS is return on ad spend. So they're basically making back 4x what this person who has DM'd me is spending. So 4x ROAS is strong. It's not bad at all. It's, it's pretty good. But the thing is, with FB ads, is obviously the creators will die over time, and you can't just keep rinsing and rinsing the same creatives. What I would probably suggest for this guy would be to replicate a winner creative. If you found a clear winner, replicate that, play around with it, make some small changes. I would also say, let's say for example, if you're holding a 4x ROAS for, I don't know, maybe a couple of days, let's say on a cold conversions campaign, once you've reached a certain amount of spend, you can bring in a retargeting campaign. Or what you can do, which sometimes I like to do for my clients, is I have a cold conversions campaign targeting, I don't know, maybe US if they're US based. And then what I'll also do is side by side there, I'll also run an interest stack campaign. And in the interest stack campaign, it will just be further targeting rather than broad. So it might be Balenciaga. It might be fashion show, it might be LV, the list goes on. So you're going from a cold conversions more like a prospecting or a broad campaign, whatever you want to call it, and then you're honing in more on interest in this second campaign that you do. Obviously, with the cold conversions campaign, you're still bumping up the budget every, probably I would say like 2 to 3 days that you are getting sales consistently. I would bump the budget up slightly and keep doing this and keep doing this whilst you're accumulating more sales. When your sales start to drop, obviously you can have off days where you're not going to get any sales, and that's not really a red flag. But more so, if it continues, you might want to scale down your ads and then start looking if the creatives have burnt out, how to bring in new creatives, and that's what I would suggest for you. Number 5, how do I stand out in this niche being a freelance brand scaler? So this is a good question. Every man and his dog is wanting to be a freelance brand scaler or scale brands with Facebook ads, and I know that these brands are getting, I don't know, maybe even 20 DMs a day. So the question of how do you stand out, in my opinion, would be having a good offer, having a strong offer that is a no-brainer for them, that is a risk-free experience for them, and they have no reason to pretty much say no to this. There's no money up front, there's no risk on their behalf. I would also say a second thing would be the way you carry yourself, being professional, being assertive, being confident. Those are all things that a lot of people who are just starting out with brand scaling or doing outreach at the start, they do not have honed in. They're not dialed in on outreach yet. So if you've got that edge over them because you have better outreach, the prospect is gonna want to proceed with you if you're more confident, if you have a better offer, if you send them a voice note showcasing, okay, this is why I know what I'm doing, this is why you need to work with me, etc. They'll get that vibe from you and they'll understand, okay, this guy's an expert. I want to proceed with him over the other guys texting me, yo, I'm scaling brands for free. You can piss on the competition if your outreach is good, if you're professional. It's not hard at all. So yeah, I would honestly say good offer, strong offer, zero risk, and a no-brainer offer. I would also say just addressing the prospect right, speaking to the prospect right, because people at the start of their process, they can't even get that right. So if you're already doing that, you're more likely to close already. Number 6 is, do you use contracts? If so, why? Yes, absolutely, I do use contracts. The reason why is, one, it's just professional. It will make your client respect you so much more because you appear to be more professional. And obviously, of course, the main thing is for protection. So protection on both ends for both parties. I would say in the contract, right, you've got what you're going to be delivering to them, exactly what you're going to be doing written in the contract. You're going to touch on exactly what the payment structure would be, whether that's 10% of sales paid monthly, paid fortnightly, paid whenever, or a $500 setup fee with a 15% of sales. Whatever your sort of payment structure that you have in place will go in that contract, so they are clear exactly what is going on. If they start to deviate away from the contract and then try not to pay you, late on payments, etc., you can remind them, and of course you're backed up by the contract because you've written down exactly what the payment structure is and they've signed against that they're going to adhere to that and that they're going to pay you. I think as a whole, not doing business with contracts is a very risky kind of choice to make. I've done it before with organic. Obviously, I've owned my agency a long time, and I've definitely had some mess ups go on when I've not used contracts. So for me right now, it's a non-negotiable. It will always be a non-negotiable, and it has been for a long time. But I would say even if you're under 18, use a contract. I hear this; it's not legally binding all the time. The prospect and the genre of prospect that you're dealing with within this niche of clothing brands, I am not everyone is going to be aware of that. And also, it's just a case of, it may not be legally binding, quote unquote, right? But it's still professional. It still gives that edge against people who are dealing with prospects and saying, let's do a word agreement or something like that. You don't want to do a word agreement. You want a written document that's written professionally that they're going to have to sign with an e-signature. Number 7 is, what is the payment procedure like after delivering results, and what are the methods of payouts, like taking a percent of sales, flat rate each month, etc. So there's 2 ways you can be paid whilst obviously running ads for brand scaling. So you can go down the route of commission-based pay. So let's say, for example, if you do 15% of sales generated for your client, if they make $1,000 through solely Meta, not through Shopify and Meta, you will then take home $150 every time you generate them $1,000. The second structure that you can do is a monthly retainer or a flat rate, whatever you want to call it. So let's say, for example, when you've been brand scaling for a while, when you've got clear case studies, more respected, and you've got a report of doing good business, you can then start to move into charging up front. So let's say, for example, if you're charging up front, it might be $1,000 fee every single month to run those ads. Some people do a mix of both, where they might do a $500 setup fee, because obviously setting up the FB ads takes a long time. So they want the $500 setup fee to show the client's committed and obviously to get them locked in. And then it will be probably about 10 to 15% of sales after that. And that's the route that they would go down. So I would say those are the two ways. With regards to payment methods, I like to use Square when I send over the contract or when I send over the invoice for the monthly payment. Square is very, very good. You can use Stripe. Stripe is another one that I use a lot. I know a lot of people talk about being banned from Stripe, holds from Stripe, so that can definitely sway some people away. And I'm pretty sure there is an 18-year-old, you have to be 18 to use Stripe. I would steer away from Cash App, PayPal, Venmo and stuff like that. Like, a lot of these we don't have in the UK, but I know a lot of US people watch my videos. I would definitely steer clear from those because you're not protected in a lot of those. And I do think it also appears as unprofessional a lot of the time. Number 8 is, how can I effectively pitch an offer to a brand owner as a beginner? So obviously, as a beginner, you know you're not going to have those case studies to fall back on to basically be able to say, like, look, we've scaled X brand to 10, like, you know, an extra 10K rev a month. Here's how we're going to do the same to you, because you don't have that to kind of fall back on. What I would suggest as a complete beginner is doing offers that are completely risk-free and involve them not putting down much. If you're asking, let's say, for example, a prospect to pay X amount up front and you have nothing to show for it in terms of case studies, you have zero reason for them to trust you, you are always going to get turned away. One thing I will say is, if you are new, I would hone in on the fact that you can do stuff for free. Let's say, for example, if you wanted to scale a brand, you saw a brand that you really liked and you really wanted to scale them, you thought the pieces were tough. What I would say to you is, honestly, send them a DM and say that you're running ads for brands with zero cost up front. One thing I would absolutely avoid is saying the words free. I think a lot of people in the space have kind of, and a lot of people in life genuinely kind of think like, if something's for free, it's too good to be true, it's a scam. When I was first out reaching to sign my first few clients with brand scaling, it was a case of, when I was using the words free, I understood that, okay, when people are hearing free, they're getting turned off because they're getting suspicious. So I always like to use the term zero cost upfront. Obviously, when you jump on call with them, you'll explain, look, I'm doing this in return for a case study, because I want to gather some case studies and utilize them in the future, and I want you to be a part of that. Or you've got to make it, it's all about the way you say something, it's all about the way you sell something. Let's say, for example, and they say, what's in it for you? They might ask you why you're doing this, or why you're doing it for free, why are you working for free, and stuff like that. And I would honestly just be honest with them and say, look, I've just moved into the space. For the first two brands that I work with, I'm offering completely free in return for just a case study. Obviously, once I've signed the first two clients and we've had a successful experience together, the price will then go up and I will start charging a percentage. Because the thing is, if you start to say to them, I just want to run it for free, or I'm new to the space, or yada yada, they're not going to be convinced by that at all. If you say anything that's going to turn them off to thinking that you're unconfident, you're not capable, you're not sure of what you're doing, they're not going to want to proceed with you. So a good offer that requires nothing from them, no risk from them. You can hone in on the fact that, let's say, for example, if you even sign them for a percentage rate, you could then say to them, look, I completely understand that all the risk here is on myself. If I don't make you any money, I go home having made £0. If you don't make anything, you don't pay me a single penny. So there is all the risk on me to generate results for you, if that makes sense. So remove the risk from the prospect and put the risk on yourself. Number 9, and I like this one, and I get this a lot. A lot of people ask me, what was the biggest learning curve for you when you were learning to run ads? In all honesty, I would say the biggest, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, the biggest learning curve for me would probably be learning how to read the data without being emotional. So what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, if I had to let a creative spend for 3 days because the first day it wasn't really performing too well, and I had to let the creative spend for a couple of days, I would be nervous knowing that I was spending a prospect's money and like start worrying like, oh, what happens if I can't get them sales? I've spent them like $200 or $100, and what happens if I don't get them sales? Like worrying about all these outcomes which haven't even been presented to me yet, which made absolutely zero sense. Take the information at face value. Have no emotion about it. Do not worry about it, but respond to it and take action appropriately. That's the best thing I learned. And at the start I found it hard to not kind of just see that the ads are spending and they're not doing well and just shut off the ad without even reading the information, because that's what I always used to do at the start, which is bad. I'd look at it and see like $30 spent, no sales, start panicking, turn the whole campaign off, and I'd go into the campaign and see, okay, well, one creative's hogging all that spend. I turn the creative off. I want to replace that creative and then let the other spend and the new creative. But because I was getting so worried at the time about spending the client's money, it was kind of a case of I was rushing into things and making decisions from the data which were emotional. They were not logical, they were emotional. So that's the main thing I learned, is respond to data logically. Act on the information, not on impulse, and remove emotions from what you're doing. That's one of the main things that I learned. Number 10. So someone asked me, is there an age range to start doing brand scaling? So this is kind of a tough one. I'm a little bit on the fence with this one. I don't think there's an age range specifically to start brand scaling. I think, and I know that this is not really nice, obviously, for someone to think or someone to say, but I think it's, let's say if you're on the younger side, maybe if you're, I don't know, 15 years old or 16 years old, it might be a case that the brand owners or people that you're outreaching to may not take you as seriously. But one thing that they cannot argue with is case studies and tangible results. Once you've obtained those first 2, 3 case studies of results that you've done well for a client or you've done well for a business in a similar niche of theirs, they cannot argue with that. So if you are on the younger side, I would say hone in, work your ass off to get those case studies, and when you have them, utilize them to your advantage. And obviously if they pick up on the age side of things, which I don't think they will, because you have the results to back it up, you can say, I have tangible results to show you, and you cannot argue with the results. Whether I'm 65 or whether I'm fucking 13 in, I don't know, primary school or whatever it is, right? You still know how to brand scale. You still know how to deliver. You still have the skill regardless of your age. So that would be the main thing I would say. Number 11 said, do you run and can you run ads for any other brands outside the clothing niche? I get asked this question a lot. So obviously with paid ads, it's definitely not a case where you can only run ads literally just for clothing brands. You can run ads for gardening businesses, construction businesses, any business with a service, even people who, I don't know, clean pools or build pools or make like solar panels on people's houses or whatever. As long as there's a service, you can run for that business. There's a case of, let's say, for example, if you're running for a clothing brand or an e-commerce business, you're going to be running for sales. Directly to the website, you're going to be running to sales. Or in a case of a clothing brand, you're going to be running for signups to an SMS list, right? With the businesses that are, let's say, service-based businesses, let's say, for example, a construction company, instead of getting them sales as such, it would more so be done through leads. So you could run lead ads for their business, bring them leads, targeting obviously mostly older people, let's say if it's a gardening business or something like that. Bring them leads, the business will follow up with the lead, the business will close the lead, and you'll either get, let's say for example, I don't know, maybe 10% of revenue from that deal, plus the flat rate that you're charging them every month. The thing is with proper businesses as well, is that they'll have more money to spend because they're more of an established business. I feel like when you're targeting clothing brands, the clothing brand has to be at a certain level for them to be kind of paying you on the higher side, which means you're going to have to work with more higher ticket brands rather than just a mid-ticket brands or low ticket brands, which is obviously quite hard to do at the start when you've got minimal case studies, you've been brand scaling for like, I don't know, 6 months, etc. It could be quite hard for you. And with regards to the lead side of things, where you get a commission from who you've closed, this could be a high commission. So let's say for example, if, I don't know, the person came through to the business, and they inquired on a swimming pool. That swimming pool is minimum $20,000 to even be built. That's the worst spec they have of swimming pool. And then the business closes them on that basis of that's what they want. The shit is swimming pool. Oh, it's still 20K, right? But they close them on that basis, and you get 10% of that. You're still bringing home really, really decent money off solely commission. And imagine if you brought, let's say for example, if you brought them, I don't know, 5 leads a week, you can work out how that kind of commission starts to work out and starts to rack up. They can even have you on like a lower ticket commission because the products are so high a ticket, if that makes sense. So number 12 is, what do you need the client to give you access to start running their ads? So there's a few things that you're going to need from the client. What I would suggest for you guys to do is build out an onboarding pack, is what I like to call it. And in the onboarding pack, it's basically just a PDF document, and it explains what I need from them, why I need it, written professionally, written correctly with my logo on the side, all done nicely, not just a notes app screenshot, which I've seen some guys doing, and that's genuinely scary to me. Your prospect is not going to trust you. They're not going to want to give you access to their Shopify if you're sending it across like that. But yeah, send the PDF over, and I obviously say to them, look, if you have any questions about the onboarding process, please don't hesitate to ask. You always want to make them feel like they can ask you anything. If they're confused, you're going to make it known to them that you can help them, right? Then obviously what you want to ask them for is Facebook access. It depends how you want to go about this. It could be they giving you access to the full business manager, or you can do they share access with you to the page and also the ad account, and then you run the ads off it that way. One thing as well that I like to get access to would be the Shopify account. And the reason is, let's say for example, for me, the reason is to check against the Shopify to look at, let's say for example, I don't know, Facebook might be underreporting. We actually did 10 sales that day, but Facebook's only saying 8. I've had problems like that with my clients before. And I can check against both, and that way I'm getting paid out correctly, and that way they're more understanding of what's been going on. The other reason really why you need kind of Shopify would be to build up bundles for them, to make changes to the website if you want to, I don't know, let's say for example they're having issues with their website and you need to optimize that site. Instead of having to faff around and text the client, oh, can you make this change, can you make that change, you can jump on, make the change super quick, optimize that for them, automate the process for them so it feels like you're helping them and you're of more value to them. Another thing that you also need as well would be a branding pack, and like all the creators that they've got, all the images that they've got, all in a Google Drive. So you can take those images, those videos out, and then you can go and make creatives from that content that you've got, whether it's videos, whether it's photos, whether it's from flat lays, photo shoots, etc. The list goes on. That is one of the most important things that you need to get access to. Question number 13 is, what does the onboarding process look like? So the onboarding process would look like this in super simple terms. So they jump on a call with me. I'd get to know their brand more. I'd understand where they want to take it, and I'd see from their personality and mine if they're going to be a good fit to work with me. If they're not, we don't have to proceed. If they are, and the brand is obviously doing good organically, if the brand is doing good organically, I definitely want to proceed with them. If they've got the potential to bring in good bundles and good offers, that's even more of a green flag for me to want to proceed with them. After the call, once I've closed them, it would then be a case of sending them the onboarding pack, explaining to them everything that's in it if they have any questions or want to ask anything, and then it would be a case of sending over the contract to them, and again asking them if they have any questions about the contract and making them feel super comfortable. They sign the contract. I then get the branded pack off them. They're on board and they're a part of the team, and the partnership starts from there. Another question, and this is one of the questions that I get asked like so much, like genuinely daily on my account, is, do you run the ads on the client's Facebook account or your own? So I briefly touched on this, like, I don't know, 2 questions before. They need to give you access to either one, the business manager as a whole. I typically don't do this way, but if we do have problems, then I will have to do it this way. But I tend to not personally. I make them send me access to the page, and I make them send me access to the business, to the ad account, sorry, and then I'll do it that way. Then I'll run the ads off my Facebook account on their ad account, if that makes sense, and then with their page, and then do it that way. You can't log into a client's Facebook because you're going to get them banned. You can't be logging into different people's Facebooks on the same account. It's going to get messy. They're going to get restricted. They're going to get banned. And obviously for me, bro, I have to use a proxy on my MacBook because I got banned on FB and they've literally banned my IP address. So yeah, don't be logging in to any client accounts. Make them share it with you, and then you log in that way. Number 15 is a big question. This is another question, probably like the second most asked question in my DMs. Who pays for the ads? Me or the client? The client pays for the ads. So let's say, for example, if you say to your client, I don't know, I need a budget of $35 a day to start. The client will be paying the $35 a day, and they will be handling all the ad spend and all the costs incurred with regards to running the ads. All they'll be doing is paying you a percentage from the money that you generate them in sales solely through Meta. The client always pays for the ads. Number 16. This is a good question, and I hear a lot of people ask me this, and I also think it's very, very important for me to say this in this YouTube video now. So, do you have to do a call for onboarding? A lot of people think you can just close people on text. You can tell when someone's a good fit on text, and you can't. You want to go on the onboarding call. You want to get to know their brand, really understand if the brand is a good fit to work with you. Do you genuinely get along with the brand owner? Are you going to clash with them? Is it going to be a good is it going to be a good partnership? Can you genuinely help them to where they get to where they want to be? If they want to get to 20K per month and they've just opened their brand 2 days ago, is it realistic to sign them and then go through that process where they're disappointed because they cannot get to that level that early on? You've got to think of it that way. You've got to be able to turn down clients. You've always got to be able to turn down clients if they do not fit what you want. Don't be desperate and just sign any client or sign any person or sign any fucking man and his dog, right, just to get a client, because it will then bite you in the ass when you cannot get them results. That's the most important thing I will say. You do need a call for onboarding because you need to understand, are you going to be the right fit for them? Are they the right fit for you? Can you actually get them what they want? And are they a brand that you can actually get results for? I've jumped on onboarding calls with people, and sometimes I do like to ask the margins of the product so I can understand what the break-even ROAS is, how much kind of profit we've got to play around with. If we can, I don't know, if we can build out bundles, if that's going to affect the margin. And sometimes people have told me their margins are $5. They clearly cannot proceed and work together under that basis. And if I did not if I didn't ask those questions in the onboarding call or box that off early on, we could be 1 month into running ads together and he says that he can't afford to pay me anymore. I don't understand why. I asked why and he says his margins are bad. I could have saved myself that whole process. Number 17 is, what do I use for contracts? I use Square for contracts. It's absolutely amazing. I've got a pre-built kind of contract that I use. I change a few things in it, obviously change names, change requirements, etc., etc. And I definitely use that, and I put it into Square, and then they can sign with the e-signature at the bottom. You can also take payments on Square as well. Like if you're doing an invoice for, I don't know, 20% of sales, or that you've made them, or whatever, this month, you can then attach an invoice to this as well. Square takes like Apple Pay and stuff like that as well, which I think is really, really good. And Square takes American Express, and I love American Express. I'm always paying American Express. Number 18 is, how many outreach messages a day should I be sending? You should be sending minimum 50. Minimum 50 DMs a day. If you really want to get results and if you really want to sign clients, it's about relentlessly outreaching every single day without fail. Let's say if you send 40 messages, oh, no one's replied, and you're throwing a patty and a fucking tantrum over it. There's no point. There's no point you doing this. There's no point you doing this in any way, shape, or form. I've got people in the DMs telling me they've sent 50 fucking DMs and they're moaning that no one's responded to them. People send 200, 300 and they get one response. But what do? They keep going. Eventually someone's going to respond to you and take that chance on you, and then you're going to close them. Obviously, given the offer's good, obviously given that the way you're speaking to the prospect is actually good, you will close someone. It's all about volume. The more you do in a day, obviously I'm not saying go and send 200 messages a day, that's just unrealistic, but the more you consistently outreach, the likelier you are going to get a client. It's data-based. Like, you cannot fail. 19. This is going to be my favorite question. I'm going to end on this question. Is this scalable long term? This is absolutely scalable long term. And the reason why it is scalable long term is because once you land one client and once you get the baseline down of the skill of how to run the ads, you can then run ads for 10 people, 7 people, etc. And then you can build out your agency, bring in another media buyer, bring in a senior media buyer, bring in a setter, bring in a closer, and then you can start to build out your agency more and more. And that is a long-term business model. Businesses are always going to need marketing. Businesses are always going to need paid ad marketing. Whether it's lead generation, whether it's sales, it's a thing that's always going to be there. Paid ads is a very, very good skill. And the reason why I think this is because, let's say something like organic. Organic is a very good skill. But I don't think people are as inclined to hire someone for organic as they are inclined to hire someone for paid ads. And the reason why I think that is, paid ads is seen as this big bad beast that no one can kind of conquer. If you know paid ads, you know paid ads. If you don't, you don't. With organic, you've got to kind of sit there and say to someone, you've got to pay me $2,000 right now to film videos for you. Film videos for you. And that prospect will go away and think, do you know what? I think I can film those videos myself, because the value is not perceived as the same as running ads. You put them in front of a Facebook ad manager and they're going to think this is a completely different language. That's why it's easier to close people for paid ads 100%, because I think it is so much harder than organic. It's definitely scalable. It's always a skill that's going to be relevant. It's a very, very good skill. Businesses will always need marketing. You can scale this out to however level you want. Like, if you wanted to freelance and you're happy with 5K a month, you can keep it at that level and you can keep it at 5K a month. Or you could build out an agency with a couple different media buyers, a team in place, and you could build that to 100K a month. It's totally up to you. How much you want to scale that is up to you. But I want to say I appreciate every single person watching this. If you guys do have any more questions, obviously shoot me a DM on Instagram. Always, my Instagram is right here. The lack of videos, I hold my hands up. The lack of videos on my YouTube is absolutely terrible, but I'm getting way more consistent. You guys are gonna see it. The new content that's coming out, you guys are gonna love it. I'm gonna buy a new camera. I'm probably gonna buy a drone, not gonna lie. And just the new content is just gonna absolutely slap. It's gonna be, I don't know, 3 videos a week, a lot of teaching, practical teaching, mindset teaching, lifestyle. I'm gonna vlog more. I'm gonna show you guys what I do in my daily life, milestones in my life, crazy shit that's gonna be happening like within the next even like 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks, depends on when I post this. Shit is about to get crazy. Crazy on this channel, and I can't wait to share kind of my life journey, etc. with you guys on here, because I've not really taken YouTube too seriously. But yeah, again, drop a subscribe, drop a like. I'm dropping free game, raw videos like this, and it's gonna just keep on coming. It's just gonna keep on getting better. So I appreciate you guys, appreciate everyone watching, and drop a subscribe. See you next video.